On the smartphone handset space for the first, and I'm going to go around the group and we're going to talk futures here. And I'm going to start with Mike. He's very new to Intel, but he's not new to the smartphone world. He worked on the iPhone at Apple. He worked with Palm, and I just want to sort of get your mind around some of the things that you're most excited about as you look ahead.
You know, this is something I like to tell people. I've been saying it for a while. Smartphone's kind of a misnomer because it's really only as smart as the person who owns it. I mean, today we have this application arms race, but it's a pool model. You know, you have to know what you want. If there's an app for that, well, great. I think looking forward, you're going to see devices that, I mean, the device has your address book. It knows how you go to work. It has everything you do. It has your calls. You know, at some point, someone's going to realize, aha, this device can actually present me with data before I pull it out of it. And I think we're going to see devices becoming a lot more of an aid as opposed to something where you have to go know what to look for. Right. And that's really exciting because I think that's when people, you know, the smartphone really fulfills the promise of being smart.
Phil, you are, I think you told me that you were 7 years at HP?
Yeah, just 7 years running year number 8.
And been around the wireless world for quite a while before that. Mm-hmm. What are some of your hottest buttons at the moment?
Well, I think, you know, kind of building on what Mike said with regards to where we see the families going, there's this new gap in device form factors. That's turning out to be a pretty interesting space. When you think about, you know, what traditionally from an HP perspective, your desktops, your laptops, you know, mobile platforms from a PC perspective, you look at kind of the feature phones and smartphones, there's this gap that's emerged over the last 24 months between the smartphone and the notebook. And what is that middle ground going to look like? And what are those devices? We're seeing all kinds of device form factors coming into that space. Strong specific devices like Kindle, which now has broadband services bundled in. You don't pay a monthly bill, which just comes with the device, so it kind of changes the whole dynamics of how does data get charged for, to new kinds of you know, larger glass surface area slate-like devices that are more touch-oriented and keep you larger glass. So what are those device form factors? We actually think that there's going to be a whole range of new device form factors in that space. The argument being is that today in the industry, we make customers make arbitrary or unnatural decisions, right? Well, I think, you know, location-based services have been around for quite some time. In fact, we did a joint project with Nokia in London. I don't know, it's got to be like 6 or 7 years ago, where we did basically what we refer to as digital graffiti, where you could leave, you know, you could text a note and it would pin it to the location, and then you walk back in with your Nokia phone and you'd automatically get the message when you walked into the geozone. So you could leave things like, you know, the service at this restaurant stinks. So it's like you spray painted it on the side of the restaurant. The restaurant owner couldn't get rid of it because it's virtual, but anybody who had the device could see the comment that you posted. That was like 6 or 7 years ago.
That's controversial.
It was extremely controversial with the negative comments, because all of a sudden, you know, press started writing about it. And when the press wrote about it, obviously, you know, get the exciting portion of it, and then all the local businesses try to get regulators to outlaw the service, because they saw it, you know, but look, you get worse on Yelp today, you know, for a business. So I think, you know, we've all been kind of experimenting. I think the question is, you know, that ability for people to self-manage. How much information do they publish? I mean, I've got people on my team who are big, huge Foursquare users, right? And you constantly are getting their Foursquare update. You know, now you have to go to the okay, turn the chat down a little bit. I don't need to know literally every restaurant or every bar you bar hop on Friday night. You know, maybe your boss shouldn't be knowing how many bars you hop on a Friday night. But I think from the standpoint of using location to deliver some form of enhanced service, something that's interesting that's happening, the ability to aggregate and know where friends are at, so when friends are close by, you can get together and find each other. And there's, you know, it's almost unlimited. I mean, I think this is a perfect example. I think when you're talking about sensors and the issues of sensors, location just happens to be one sensor. How are application developers going to take data from all these kinds of sensors, whether it's location sensors or temperature sensors or accelerometers or you know, whatever, and stitch those together to create whatever the next location like of using a different kind of a sensor application is going to be. I mean, that's the thrill of being in this industry. You never can predict how some interesting entrepreneur is going to take a foundation platform device and create some kind of, you know, new experience.
well, as the mayor of 200 Boulder Road in San Jose, I would like to say, you should try to displace me before the end of the evening. You know, the interesting thing, again, and I think we're all talking about it, is there's an interesting information dynamic to it, which is, I recently had a demonstration of our augmented reality. You know, we're all working with augmented reality, and the first thing that is, they sort of fired it up, and literally the display in front of me just exploded with information. And they were like, this is sort of all data view. And so you can imagine, there's the map layer, and then right above that is the traffic layer, and right above that is the directions layer, and right above that is the tag layer, and right above, and literally, the point they were trying to make is that we have more information than we can display, that a human can take in. And they were like, look, the interesting research that we're having to do is how to deliver that information to you in an interesting way on a smaller form factor. Whether you sort of have an eye patch on, you're looking at a 4-inch piece of glass, whatever it is, no matter what the size of the glass is at one level until we get to ridiculous, there's going to be more information than you can handle. But inside of all of that information is the answer you're looking for. And so I think the interesting thing about location is just one dimension of context. It's a very important one, but it's really sifting through all the data and turning it into valuable knowledge that I think is the next challenge. And I think that while all of us, who work on the platform side of it, who deliver these platforms, we're excited about what we can do. Part of it is really just unlocking all of this for the developers and then watching the magic happen.
Did you want to add anything on location?
Well, I think it brings up, I'll talk about two practical challenges. The first one is if you have a device that's constantly doing location and sensor networking, you're going to burn the battery down really fast. So it's going to be a real challenge to take this capability and build it into a device that isn't drained by lunch. The second thing is that you talk about privacy. I mean, there's this concept of you're walking around, you're building up all this data. You're going to want to have a history. It's kind of like your digital persona over time. I think there's going to be a real challenge with creating sort of a secure digital persona. Like, I'm not sure I want to put it in somebody's cloud server. Maybe I want to keep it on my device. And what does that secure digital persona look like, and how do you manage it?
Of the divorce case with the records in it.
What?
But I just think that's going to be a real challenge to figure out how to have how to not only figure out what data goes to whom, how to store it safely so that it's available to you in a secure way, and yet at the same time it's protected.